I'd like to greet the young participants of this event as you join this important conversation.
Empowering women in the digital economy is beneficial for all of us because it is equal and fair, but also leads to faster economic growth by creating optimal conditions for women to access these jobs and empowering them with confidence, guidance, and the tools they need.
Is to use storytelling as a very powerful tool to inspire and drive change towards reducing the gender gap.
Recognize the important contributions of women and provided access to untapped resources such as financing, access to technology and training, and representation at decision-making levels.
The empowerment of women in leadership is an intentional process. Every day, women are breaking barriers in different industries and fields. But we need support from the civil society, the private and the government sector, as well as the media, not just in giving us a seat at the table, but in standing in solidarity with us.
Break down these barriers by raising awareness and communication campaigns addressing stereotypes in male-dominated sectors.
Creating programs and grants that empower women and girls in STEM and campaigns that uplift them to confidently aim and qualify for leadership positions.
Contribute to gender equality and shifting norms, actively engaging in raising awareness and being agents of change.
Do not be afraid to levy for unbiasedness. Do not be afraid to levy for female support and recognition.
Actively push for reducing gender gap and gender inequality and push for inclusion.
You have power in your heads and desire in your hearts to make a change, and you better believe that every action counts.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all those listening to us around the world. Bonjour, marhaba to those here in Ben Gurir. My name is Jesko Henschel. I'm the country director for the World Bank program in the Maghreb and Malta. And I'm very, very happy to have so many of you here in the room and so many on live streaming all over the world to this event, empowering women to shape the jobs of the future. And we are holding this event together with the Ministry of Economy and Finance and the University Mohammed VI Polytechnic here in Ben Gurir. It is the first global event in the road, in the march to the annual meetings of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, which will happen not far from here in Marrakesh in October. And in this run-up, we have, with our Moroccan colleagues, thought of a number of themes which we want to put on the agenda for that global discussion, which will take place in a couple of months. And what is more important than this topic of empowering women, gender equity, and shaping the future? And it is really a great pleasure for us to be here. I will ask the president of the university, Mr. Hicham Habti, to come up and greet you in a second. But before that, there you will see a QR code on the screen in a little while. Please, those here in the audience, use the QR code, write in your questions, and at the very end of the session today, we will come to quite a few of these. Also, there is a hashtag you can be using, Accelerate Equality. We have a full program of speakers, panelists for you. But before we get to that, please, Mr. President of the university, thank you so much for having us, and the floor is yours.
So I would say like you, salam alaikum, bonjour, bonsoir. Good afternoon, Excellencies, ladies, gentlemen, esteemed guests. On behalf of Mohammed VI Polytechnic University, it is my distinct honor to welcome you to this high-level panel in preparation of the World Bank and IMF annual assemblies not far from here in Marrakesh. Thanks to much advocacy and sacrifice, women across the globe keep conquering their deserved place as full citizens, capable of making an impact. But we can all agree that gender parity is very much a work in progress. Our continent, Africa, is a case in a point. UNESCO estimates that no more than 40% of African girls finish secondary school. Of those who actually finish that stage of their education, not even half are able to graduate high school. Beyond the clear injustice in such a situation, there is also an economic opportunity cost to whole societies. Gender discrimination is a liability for prosperity. At UM6P, a major source of pride for us is the fact that 54% of our student population is female in fields like science, technology, and engineering that have the reputation of being a men's club. As a university, we are also aware of our role as an incubator of good citizenship. Our campuses enforce a safe space free from harassment, discrimination, or abuse. The result is before us. 88% of our students estimate that their university fosters female leadership. I'm confident this panel will be a learning experience for us all, while looking forward of more gender parity in our schools and workplaces. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and also thank you for all the work this university is doing. And you mentioned female leadership. If we look a bit at empirical work about female leadership in companies, I thought it was very interesting that companies that have a high level of female leadership in CEO positions or in the board, that they have a higher rate of innovation, higher productivity, but also, and this is very much linked to the topic today, they use more renewable energy. And so this is actually empirical studies that have looked at that. So with this, we have a video from Minister Fettah, the Minister of Economy and Finance, prepared, which we are going to look at now to start the discussion. Please.
Excellencies, Ministers, Mr. Managing Director of Operation of World Bank, Mr. Chairman and Managing Director of OCP, Mr. President of Mohammed VI Polytechnic University, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome you all at Mohammed VI Polytechnic University of Belgrade, as you are about to discuss a topic at the center of the global conversation just a few months before the annual assemblies of the World Bank and the IMF in Marrakesh. It is no coincidence that this crucial debate on empowering women to shape the future of jobs is held today at UM6P, a unique place where knowledge meets innovation and empowerment. As you certainly know, this university would have never seen light if it were not for the vision and commitment of His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, as well as his strong conviction that the most essential commodity is an ever-changing world is not anymore oil, but opportunity. Indeed, His Majesty the King has implemented several gender parity strategies in recent years aimed at advancing the status of women in Moroccan society and to increase the level of opportunities offered to women. These strategies include the National Strategy for the Advancement of Women, aiming to promote women's rights and gender equality in all aspects of life, including education, health, politics, and economics. It includes a number of initiatives, such as increasing the number of women in decision-making positions, improving women's access to healthcare, and supporting women's entrepreneurship. It is followed by an integrated national program for the economic empowerment of women and girls in Horizon 2030 at Temkin. This program aims to improve women's economic inclusion efforts in Morocco through actions strengthening women's access to economic opportunities, consolidating progress in education and training of women, and ensuring an enabling and sustainable environment for women economic empowerment. The Mudawana in 2004. This is a family law that was reformed in 2004 to give women greater rights and protections, including the right to divorce, increased child custody rights, and the minimum age for marriage. The National Initiative for Human Development. This initiative, launched in 2005, seeks to reduce poverty and social exclusion in Morocco, with a particular focus on empowering women and girls. The National Observatory for the Rights of the Child and the Family. This observatory, established in 2007, monitors the implementation of laws and policies related to women's and children's rights. Therefore, opportunity as well as structural changes are at the core of the issue at stake today. This is why Morocco is committed to further its effort to implement policies that will enable women to unleash their potential and fully contribute to the dynamics of wealth, production, and the transformation of the society. To succeed, we must focus on 5 priorities. Provide education and training. Women need access to education and training programs that equip them with the skills and knowledge they need to succeed in the jobs of the future. Secondly, address gender bias and stereotypes. Women often face bias and stereotypes that limit their opportunities in the workforce. It is important to address these biases and stereotypes and promote a more inclusive culture that values diversity and equality. Third, increase access to mentorship and networks. Women benefit from having access to mentorship and networks that can help them navigate the job market and advance in their careers. Employers and organizations can create mentorship programs and networking opportunities that specifically target women. Offer flexible work arrangements. Women often face challenges balancing work and family responsibility. Offering flexible work arrangements, such as telecommuting, part-time work, and job sharing, can help women balance their work and family obligations. Promote paid equity. Women are often paid less than their male counterparts for the same work. Promoting pay equity and ensuring that women are paid fairly is essential to empowering women in the workforce. Overall, empowering women for the future of jobs requires a comprehensive approach that addresses the many barriers and challenges that women face in the workforce. I would like to reiterate here His Majesty's government's strong commitment to implement public policies that will address this essential issue, as well as my personal involvement and the involvement of my department in order to live up to the promise once made by the pioneer and great African icon, Graça Machel. Gender equality is the goal that will help abolish poverty, that will create more equal economies, fairer societies, and happier men, women, and children. I wish you fruitful debates. Hope you have a great journey in Morocco, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in Marrakesh in next October.
Thank you so much, Mr. Minister, and all the colleagues from the Ministry of Economy and Finance with whom we had discussed this event over the past couple of weeks. And as Her Excellency stated, gender equity is central to development in Morocco. And the strategy outlined the 5 different areas which the minister had mentioned provide that framework. And especially in Morocco, this focus is central. This is one country in North Africa, like others, which has a low participation of women in the workforce. We have a female labor force participation rate of about 20%, and it has been declining over the past couple of years. And we know that women empowerment and that contribution in development is absolutely key for gaining income for families and households, for investing in the next generation, for the way society works and decisions are made. And if we look at many of the East Asian examples of development, increasing and empowering women was a key factor for successful development. Now, the topic of today is to think about the future, and countries, economies all of the world are undergoing important transformations, the digital one. And now, and being here in Morocco, we've all witnessed this over the past years, I should say, with the drought, climate. The greening of the economy will be a key undertaking for all countries in the world. And that means new skills, new competencies, new regulations. So when we think about the future of jobs, we especially have to think about how women will be shaping this future, and also that these transitions will be equitable. I had mentioned earlier how female leadership in company boards, in management positions, sparks innovation, and that we have really empirical evidence for this. And we have today 2 testimonies of young entrepreneurs. And we are very, very happy that they agreed to record these testimonies. The first one will be from Yetunde Adeyemi, who is the managing director of Active Foods Limited in Nigeria. Let's look at the video.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Yetunde Adeyemi. I am an entrepreneur from Nigeria. But even more important, I am a woman who has succeeded. I'm the managing director of Active Foods Limited, a company that produces commercial bread. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful children, and I'm happily married to a loving and supportive man who believes in me and my dreams. I grew up in a very close family. I'm the only girl among 3 brothers, and I had a wonderful father who loved me so much, and he constantly inspired me to be the best and gave me every opportunity that I needed. I just only wish that he's alive here today to see his little girl giving this talk. My entrepreneurial journey started very early in life. As a 9-year-old girl, I made this popular caramel candy at home, and I'll take it to school and sell it to my primary school classmates for pennies. This was my first experience with business. When I was in the university, I opened the first ice cream joint, and my father gave me the money to start it. I consider this my first taste of success in business. About 8 years ago, I started Active Foods Limited with about 7 staff in a very small store. And my business plan that time was to make 1,000 loaves per day. That was success to me at that time. Few months after I started operation, Nigeria went into recession and a lot of companies started to fold up. I was a startup that time, and statistically, I should have been disadvantaged. But in fact, it became an opportunity for me as I provided values that consumers were looking for at that time. And my business just literally took off. And today, I have over 300 staff in my employment with 2 production factories producing over 30,000 loaves per day. Yes, we have come a long way from the 1,000 loaves of bread that we set out to produce. The journey hasn't been that smooth. There has been challenges. No one prepared for the pandemic. The cost of flour and other raw materials started to go up. In Nigeria, bread is a major staple food, especially for the poor. So it's always very difficult to raise the price of bread. While we thought COVID was the worst thing that could happen, then came the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, and the cost of flour continued to go up. This was a very critical time for me in my business, as I needed funding to stay in business. Here in Nigeria, it is very difficult for the woman entrepreneur to access loan, as most banks will require collaterals that we don't have. So I applied to Access Bank PLC, who approved a loan to me based on my cash flow instead of collateral. This support from Access Bank has enabled me to continue to stay in business. I also realized that I wasn't just building a business for myself alone. I was also creating opportunities for other Nigerian women, as I have well over 200 of those women who have now become my distributors and my sub-distributors. And as a result of this, they have been able to support their family. And together, we have been able to form a chain of opportunities for other Nigerian women. As I talk today, I'm talking and I'm appealing to people who have power to influence the future of the woman. And I'm saying that there is more that is needed to be done for the woman. The women have more to offer the world. We need to be giving more opportunities to unleash our inner abilities. Because when a woman is empowered, you are empowering an entire nation. I, Yetunde Adeyemi, I am an empowered woman, and I have succeeded. Thank you all for listening to me.
So what an inspirational story, and also one which shows how obstacles can be overcome. Thinking back to what Minister Fettah had said earlier. It is my great pleasure now to welcome Axel van Trotsenburg to the stage. Axel is the Managing Director of Operations globally in the World Bank, and he's been in Morocco for a country visit for the last day or two, and we're very happy to have him. He will present a couple of his own thoughts, and then welcome to the stage Minister Hayar here from Morocco, and if technology allows, Minister Sri Mulyani and Nanavaty from Indonesia. Just to say, for those who are online, so we have 3 languages in which you can follow the live stream. We have English, French, and Arabic. And I think Minister Sri Mulyani will listen to English even when we're talking here in French, so there might be a little bit delay. So with this, over to you, Axel. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jesko. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start with thanking the Ministry of Economy and Finance, as well as the Mohammed VI Polytechnic University for co-hosting this event. And let me also say that just a shout out and a congratulation to this university. I had earlier a tour of the university. It is truly very impressive. And I think you have very interesting concept. And what I like a lot, there's a lot of drive and enthusiasm behind this. And that is what you need for universities, that students can strive, but they also feel that the university is behind it. They have great expectations from you, and they have great confidence in you. And that is always what is necessary for a university. Now, thank you for this event. This is the first global event for the road to Marrakesh for the annual meetings. And I think it is very significant that we actually chose this topic about empowering women to shape the future jobs. And why is that so? I think we have still in this world an incredible gender inequality issue. And unfortunately, the COVID crisis has made this problem not better, but worse. And that you see particularly in education, many millions of kids had to leave school. But what is worse, that many didn't return to school, and particularly girls didn't return to school in the amounts that it should. Also, there is, during the COVID crisis, an incredible spike of gender-based violence throughout the world. And it is the untold scandal and pandemic that also needs to be addressed. And then, of course, that the inequality in the job place. Where the bank stands is that we think gender equality is not only morally necessary, it is also good economics. Because by providing everybody an opportunity, it provides also a boost to economic income, a boost to escape poverty and actually have a better life. And I think what we are seeing is, and there are some works, is if all women were to be employed to the extent as men are, you will see world GDP increase 10, 20 or more percent. There are regional differences where that could even be higher. So it is actually, when we're talking about the growth agenda, that is where you have to concentrate on. Now, I think why is this debate also important is because we are here at the university. Ultimately, it starts also with education and good health. From the time kids are born, I think they have the rights to equal chances. And this is important, that we need to think about education, not when you are here at the university. And I think it is great that this university has 53%, I think, of the students are women. But that was also a long way, namely from born. We need to focus on early childhood development, on kindergarten, primary, secondary, and then, of course, university or also higher education. But it cannot stop there in a modern world. We need lifelong learning opportunities that are provided to everybody. And I think that is something where the World Bank cares a lot. We have gender study. We are embedding this in our operations because it is the smart lens to do. And I think, therefore, we see in the bank actually a couple of activities that we need to undertake. First, I think we need to join the coalition, I would say the global coalition on advocacy, namely advocacy for gender equality, better chances, but also to have address the many discriminations women are facing still today. And I think that is something where everybody needs to be loud and clear that all this discrimination is unacceptable. Then I think also the minister mentioned also these unconscious biases, or worse, conscious biases that exist in the workplace. It exists in institutions that one needs to combat, and that requires that particularly men have to adjust to new realities. And that is more respect And that respect needs to translate not in behavioral changes, but also that women can get the same payment as men. And I think that is still work in progress. We're still not there, but it is an area where we also feel we have to work. And then actually everywhere where we can promote gender equality, that has to be incorporated in our operations. We also complement it with a lot of study work that we are undertaking. And here, particularly data work, monitoring and data are going to be important, because then they show the harsh realities that still some countries are facing, but also where we're making progress. And we need then to make progress more on this. So for this reason, I think that choosing gender and particularly empowering women to shape the future of jobs is extremely important, because we have to look beyond tomorrow, beyond basically the crisis that we have over the last couple of years been facing. But the next crisis is there, that we basically have to provide better opportunity for the youth and particularly for women. And therefore, I think that is a great occasion to have this discussion. I'm very pleased that we will have now a panel discussion where we will have a dear colleague of mine, because she worked as the current Minister of Finance of Indonesia, Excellency Sri Mulyani Indrawati. She was at the World Bank for years as the managing director in the position that I have now. And she is a great champion of gender equality. So I would like to welcome her, as well as Minister Hayar, the Minister of Solidarity and Social Inclusion and Family of Morocco. And what we will do is I will go to the seat, and I will also invite Minister Hayar to the stage. And then virtually, I'm inviting Sri Mulyani to join us now. Thank you very much. Mulyani, do you hear us? Maybe you need to unmute. We see you perfectly.
I've already unmuted.
Now we hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Absolutely great. So thank you very much for joining us here. We miss you. But let me also express my appreciation for taking the time. It must already be evening. But I just mentioned in my introductory remarks that you have been a great champion, not only at the bank, but also in the government of Indonesia for gender equality. You have always pointed out the right for women, but also to give opportunities. And I think it is therefore interesting to hear how you see as the minister, particularly the gender dimension, to provide women better chances to participate in the economy, but also in the future, like in the digital economy, or to create more future jobs in the Indonesian economy. How do you see that?
Well, thank you, Axel, for inviting me. This is the topic that dear to my heart, and I think it's also very important for the global economy, for what you call it inclusive recovery. As you know that many countries in the world also suffering from inequality. If you talk about the woman in the job, and now you mentioned about the two very important trend in the world, that is digital economy and greener economy. So first, how we are going to make sure that within this new trend, near future that woman is going to have the same equal opportunity, but also not only just the opportunity, that they can really realize this opportunity to become an actual role, playing an equal role in those very important near future job like digital economy and greener job. First is, of course, we have to make sure that all hurdles, obstacles for women to be able to participate in these two economies is very important. That is on the digital economy and on the greener economy. Usually the obstacle is whether this is from their family, values, culture, even religious, in this case, interpretation, and also from the legal. The second one is usually also in the form of that the woman being perceived not competent enough because they are not taking science, technology, and math in this case. And that's why I really welcome this initiative to have this Polytechnic. So how we are going to be able to promote more women to be able to eligible or also participate, and not only in basic education, but also higher education for women in the STEM. I think that's going to be also important. Third is also for all of us to be able to also advocating, educating on digital literacy. Many of the women now even become a victim of the fintech because they don't understand what the digital literacy. So there is an opportunity from the digital economy. I can see it during this pandemic. Axel, you know very well that everybody forced to work from home. And with the pandemic, there are many actually women which is suffering from this kind of situation, but also at the same time also have a new opportunity. They are taking this opportunity in which economy and the country becoming more and more digitalized, like in Indonesia. Many of the business now turn into the digital platform, digital marketplace. And that's also provide a flexibility of the woman to be able to continue still staying home, taking care of the children or even the house, but also at the same time, they actually can be more productive. They become entrepreneurial, they can use their entrepreneurial skill in order for them to get the market access. But all these things will require digital savvy, digital knowledge, and this is usually supported by others. I've been in one market in which I met with a woman seller and I said, "Are you selling this digitally?" "Oh, yeah." And I said, "How do you access this marketplace?" "Oh, I have my nephew who helped me how they are going to then have the contact." So it's just amazing. This digital economy provides a lot, huge opportunity for many women who actually, if they have their shop, they actually can expand it. And if they even staying home, they actually can continue also access to the market with the digital technology. On Indonesia own, in this case, we also promote quite a lot of program in order for us to be able to make sure that the woman is going to be prepared for this new era based on digital as well as also the greener economy. First, there are specific programs, for example, like our Ministry of Communication and Information launching 1,000 digital startup movement, in which mostly the entrepreneur here is a woman, empowering woman entrepreneur through this 1,000 digital startup movement. We also, from the Ministry of Small Medium Enterprises and Cooperative in Indonesia, we launched what we call it the foster sister for the small medium enterprises, or in Indonesian language, kakak asuh UMKM, as well as the providing and building an e-catalog from small medium enterprises. And also we launch and promote proud to use Indonesian product, Bangga Buatan Indonesia. These are the program that usually the beneficiary are women entrepreneur who now find that through this government program, they can expand their market they receive technical assistance on the product, packaging, or even the quality. And even in this case, through financing, we also provide subsidized financing for mostly women small entrepreneurs in Indonesia. So this is also aligned well with our Women Financial Inclusion National Strategy. As a Minister of Finance, I'm also promoting affordable financial services for small, medium enterprises, who majority of the player is also a woman in this case. My own minister, in this case, the ministry, we are also developing through our budget, gender budget tagging, in order for us to be able to, as you mentioned, Axel, earlier, data is very, very important. And that's why we use this tagging to make sure that whether our budget is actually providing equal opportunity or even affirmation to the woman opportunity and woman needs in this case. So these are all some of the examples that we are doing. As I said, when we talk about equality in gender, I think many evidence and studies already providing a very convincing proof that providing an equal opportunity for women is not only good for the economy, not only good for the country, but also good for the family, and especially for the younger generation and the children, that they are going to be able to then see a real example of no limit, no constraint, whether you are boys or girl. And that can be very, very important influence for the next generation. So I'll stop here. Unless you want me to continue speaking, I will speak until midnight.
Well, thank you for Mulyani, but what it is always is, first, you're passionate about it. Secondly, you have been a great leader to push these issues. And I think this is what you need. It cannot be just by hoping for the best, but you have to shape it. And I think you have over the years been fairly adamant that this area needs to make bigger progress. And I thank you for giving a nice overview of some of the initiatives. And I know there are many more, so maybe I come back to it. Let me now turn to the Minister Hayar, and also asking you a little bit about the Moroccan situation. I think that if you're looking at here, the university participation in this university, it's actually quite high. Also, the share of women in STEM is actually in Morocco not so bad. At the same time, there are continued challenges for incorporating women into the workforce, and that is relatively low. So, how do you see the part from government policies to help facilitate a higher participation of women into the workforce, and particularly how one can help particularly the lower level women with lower levels of education also have a better chance in the jobs world.
Thank you very much. So, Madame la Minister of Finance at Indonesia, Mr. the General Director, Managing Director of Operations at the World Bank, Monsieur le Gouverneur, Mr. the President of University Mohammed VI Polytechnic, Mr. the Director of World Bank at Maghreb and Malta, ladies and gentlemen, representing the international organizations or national organizations for public and private sectors, dear colleagues, professors, dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bonjour. Okay, I will go in French if it's okay to you, because I think I will try to rush a wide audience. So I will go in French. Thank you. Donc, pour répondre à votre question, au Maroc et sous le le leadership de Sa Majesté le roi Mohammed VI, que Dieu l'assiste, le Maroc a connu une très grande avancée en termes d'accès aux droits et de promotion de l'égalité des femmes, enfin l'égalité entre les sexes et l'accès des femmes à leurs droits. Et nous avons vu durant les 20 dernières années une très grande avancée en termes juridiques, en termes de loi. Le Code de la famille, déjà en 2004. Maintenant, Sa Majesté le Roi a demandé aussi à ce qu'on révise aussi ce Code de la famille. Il y a eu des avancées très importantes en matière donc déjà de la nationalité. La femme peut donner la nationalité à ses enfants.
So women can give citizenship to her children. We have the 2011 Constitution that clearly states equality between, have laws sanctioning violence against women, punishing violence against women. We have laws to encourage women to participate in political life, in elections. And this also allowed a much better representation of women locally, and we have 90 women in the Moroccan parliament at this point. So we improved a lot when it comes to women's rights. And the United Nations committee that follows on the implementation of the SEWA Convention praised the advancement made by Morocco after we submitted our reports in June 2022. Morocco was congratulated for moving forward on human rights. Now, when we move to women's contribution to the economy, contribution is rather on the low side, 20%. Even though in university, in this beautiful university here, have, I believe, more women than men, which shows that there is lots of perseverance coming from women. Because in primary education, we have as many women as men, or girls as boys. But the more we move forward in schools, the more the proportion of girls falls. Now, in midterm schools, in the cities, we have 90% of girls going to school, but in rural area, it's about 40%. But then, moving to college or universities, we have women representing more than 50% of men. So despite disparities at school level, when we move to college, we have women, and they are absolutely brilliant. Now, moving to the job market, we lose these women, regretfully. And we had many discussions in the Solidarity Ministry, in all our departments at the ministry, because we are preparing for the National Commission for Equality between Sexes and Women's Empowerment that was adopted by the Moroccan government. The government set an important goal, which is to increase the role of women in the job market, to move from 20 to 30%. And all ministries are developing strategies in order to increase women's participation in the job market. What we've done in our ministry since the beginning, in June 2022, in the government, we created a national commission to promote equality between men and women and empower women. So there is a contribution from civil society, ministries, public and private sector, and all parties contributing to empowering women. And we had lots of discussions. So we eventually set three main axes. First, families. When women are promoted after college, there is a family pressure on girls in order for them to create a family, to take care of their children, because we do not have a very developed childcare system in Morocco, especially in the first 1,000 days, as we call it. So we developed preschool system, but then this starts at 4 years old. And in the first years, we have very limited options for childcare. So usually girls after college do not move to job market immediately. And we try to concentrate on a family policy that does not exist in Morocco. We are working on a family policy in Morocco because usually we consider women and men by categories. But when a woman gets married, we do not have an operating system. We do not have childcare. We do not have also the mentality, the cultural understanding within the family in order to have more equality between men and women. And we do know that in the first 6 years, according to psychologists, the first 6 years are very important in order to shape our social perceptions and beliefs. So we need to support families, and we did not have the operation system. We do not have programs at the country level to support families, to support young couples, to teach them about parents' education, about childcare, about assistance to the mother, and so on. So we lack a family policy, and we are working on this. Then we need to have a safe environment. We need to end violence against women at home, at work, in society as a whole. And then, of course, there is women empowerment. So in the government program that wants to move from 20% to 30%, this means 1.4 million women that needs to have access to the job market. And the Commission is working on this, and we also need very specific indicators in order to be able to follow up on performance and achievements. And then again, we have many programs about empowering women. We have the Auraj program, the Fursa or Opportunity program, and the Jisr or Bridge program in our ministries that supports 36,000 vulnerable women, the one that you talked about. And how to support these women, first by providing training and education, and then through information technology. We have the Empowering Academy that is part of the Marrakesh Declaration to fight violence against women. And we work with other actors at the ministerial level, with other partners. So we started this Empowerment Academy that allows women through a given platform to have access to education, training, soft skills, languages, to be able to communicate better, to find partners, to create any sort of business, and then inclusive financing, which is a problem here when it comes to women entrepreneurs. In this academy, we train women, we support them, and we do not have preconditions like a diploma or any others. That's it for me.
Thank you very much. I think both ministers clearly indicated the structural barriers that women are facing and how you could deal with that with initiative as well as with policies on this. I know that we were running out of time, but I just want to ask both ministers, you know, in this room, Mulyani, you won't see it, but there are many students and there are also many female students. In one sentence, what would you tell them? Mulyani, you're first. I'm putting
Okay. Well, be confident. I'm sure you are all smart women. Be confident and optimistic about your role. Never easily intimidated or feel that you are the only woman in the room. You are only woman in the office. So be brave and just do the best you could. And you are going to be the role model for your friends, for your daughter, for your family. So you are all in the higher education. You are actually have a great chance to become a leader. So be brave, be confident. I'm sure you are all smart. So you are going to contribute more by not only just doing your best, but you become the role model for others. So whatever that you are doing, even every inch of the progress that you are making, you actually representing many women who actually strive for this kind of position. So just in this case, do your best and be confident and be brave.
Thank you for your advice. Wonderful. Minister Hayar.
Très bien. Bon, je vais essayer de donner mon avis sur trois
I'm going to
points.
try to give my opinion on 3 points. First, following on what Madam Minister just said, be confident, girls. But you cannot improvise confidence. You need to educate women on confidence and leadership. This should be a part of our strategy, of our policy since childcare. I mean, given my personal experience, thanks to my father and my family, I built confidence. And we learn confidence, we learn leadership at all levels of education, starting with childcare. And then also, I talked about the economic level. We need to develop strategies in order to provide childcare and assistance to mothers. Some mothers cannot leave their homes. They have children and so on. We have 14 million women in Morocco, and 3 million play a role in the economies. 11 million do not. So we need to develop what we call telework and help to the mothers within the families. I mean, I don't know, share, for instance, between mothers, the care of children. And then third, here I talk to men and women, we have what we call a welfare society. Where are we going? I mean, we have artificial intelligence, we have robots. In many years, many jobs are going to disappear. So we need added value jobs. In order to echo the title of your conference, women should contribute in shaping the jobs of the futures, concentrate on STEMs, but also welfare and a balance between private and professional life. And this is important for both men and women.
Thank you very much, and colleagues and friends. What you now saw is that two forceful ministers gave you a passionate plea for empowerment, and that you need to have confidence in yourself and you will succeed. And please emancipate the man. That will be necessary. But I think it is also underlines why we wanted to choose this topic. This is an essential development topic. It has a societal impact of enormous proportions, and we can all do better. And I think that what you heard from Sri Mulyani as well from the minister here is that we need to do this together. You cannot do it alone. And therefore we need debate and then ultimately action. So let me thank Sri Mulyani for taking the time to join us, but also Minister Hayar for joining us. Very much appreciated that we go right now to the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister Hayar, Sri Mulyani. Thank you so much for being with us, Axel, for this session. And what stuck with me is from Minister Hayar, her last intervention, opportunities are there, and from Sri Mulyani, clearly confidence. So this brings us to our second lightning talk. And this time we're going to have Inés Yábar from the Next Generation Fellow at the UN Foundation from Peru with us. And we're going to listen to the video.
Hello. My name is Inés Yábar, and I have turned down opportunities before because they didn't align with my values. Maybe many of you have too. Did you know that a third of Gen Z workers, that is 18 to 24-year-olds, claim they have rejected a job offer because of a company's poor green credentials, according to new research? Where and how people choose to work is important. It's both a privilege and a responsibility. And this statistic shows that the status quo is simply not working anymore. The survey conducted by KPMG highlights how social and environmental factors are becoming increasingly important for workers, particularly among the younger generation. This is certainly true for me. I started my environmental activism when I was just 16 years old. Just over 10 years ago. I would often walk on the coastlines of my neighborhood and find plastic dangerously close to my toes, and of course, much more dangerous to all the animals who confused it with food. In seeing this in beaches close to home, but also those that were more remote, I just wanted to do something. I was also seeing other issues like deforestation, and I just wanted to take action. This is why I say I am a part of a generation of doers. I didn't wait until I was of the age for someone to tell me what to do, but I became a change maker, taking the matters into my own hands with the help of many amazing women trailblazers. I joined Loop, Life Out of Plastic, in my home country, Peru, and I connected with women who had founded a social impact company whose aim was to empower citizens to take action on plastic pollution, well-generated solutions like beach cleanups, advocacy to government agencies, and products or pieces made out of reused or recycled plastic. This later led to a ban of single-use plastics in Peru after 7 years of advocacy. Creating jobs in the environmental sector is essential because although women are often more environmentally friendly in their consumption, only 12% of the millions of jobs in the green energy industry are held by women, according to Forbes. Companies are underestimating women at their own risk. Yet women are also the ones bearing the brunt of the environmental impacts the most. I believe the World Bank has a unique role to support women in creating new job opportunities in the environment space, as well as supporting those who are already facing the impacts of the crisis, just as you're already doing now. I myself am now a living example that supporting young women to thrive in a social environmental job is a good play. I now work at the United Nations Foundation, supporting young people to tackle the issues that affect us most today. Just last week, we launched the Big Brainstorm, where over 2,000 young people signed up to rally around different innovations, from Gathoni in Kenya working on carbon credits to Nahora in Colombia, who's from an indigenous community supporting women in science, or Sushmina in Nepal, who's setting up an initiative for the school to work transition. There is a huge role for women to play in leading change, and I see young people doing it every day. So I hope that you join me as we continue to support women to thrive in a world of environmental impact, because many of us young women are already doing that today. And the more people join us, the brighter our future looks, a more green, resilient, and equitable future. It can be through jobs at the bank, supporting countries in their own policy development, or encouraging the private sector to take action for gender equality too. You don't need me to tell you what to do, because we're all placed in different positions to make an impact. And just as my t-shirt says, that was made by women in Peru and embroidered on organic cotton by those in prisons, el cambio empieza por ti. Change starts with you. Thank you.
A generation of doers. El cambio comienza con ti today. With this, we're going to our last session. We're running a little bit over time, but I think we can be maybe 10 minutes over time. So it would be great if we give a bit of space to our speeches and then speakers, and then also have a couple of questions from the audience. So let me welcome first our online speakers. I'm very happy to have with us Mrs. Reema Nanavaty, who is the director of the Self-Employed Women's Association in India, the largest association working with women in the informal sector in the world. Reema, been wonderful to have you. And we also have with us Charlette Ingessen, who is a tech founder and AI consultant, artificial intelligence consultant. So thank you so much, Charlette, for being with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very happy also to have two speakers live here on the stage. So please welcome Ghita Lahlou, who is the Vice President of the Confederation of Moroccan Enterprises. Ghita, thank you so much for being with us. And we also have Hanan Moshid with us, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer at the OCP Group. So if you please come with me, we'll go over.
Yes.
This works. So thanks very much for joining us. And let me address you first, Ghita. Thank you very much for being here. We've heard quite a bit about the obstacles of female labor force participation, of female empowerment in the economic sphere. If you want to give us your take on this, but also in Morocco, what are avenues for solutions?
Thank you, Yisco. If you allow me, I will speak French just to be faster and a little more comfortable. Comme j'ai très peu de temps.
Since I have very little time today to try to develop my vision, I will try to be brief. So when we worked on the new development model, and I was very happy to be part of the team, we worked through a series of topics. I will not go back to the topics that were already talked about by the minister, but I would like to give you a figure that is very telling about the problem we have in Morocco today. It is the employment rate today in Morocco. The employment rate is the activity rate minus unemployment. Of course, unemployment is an issue of itself. It makes things harder because women are particularly subjected to unemployment. And so this rate keeps going down in the last 20 years. We went from 25% in 2000 to for the third quarter to 2022 is 15.9%. So that means that out of 100 women in Morocco, only 15 or 16 work, and not all of them work in the formal sector. Some of them are also underemployed. And this is out of the women part of the active population. So this number keeps going down, despite everything that has been said by the minister, which is dozens of public policies since 2006. And I would like to mention them so you know them.
Aourash, qui a déjà démarré en 2022, MLI, Força, Gisr, Temkin, Aourash, je crois que je l'ai déjà dit, plus les gender bonds.
We also have the gender bonds, of course, gender bonds that were initiated by the president, who is present with us today. So we've done a lot of things very with a lot of will to try to increase this rate, because this rate reflects everything. It reflects empowerment, education, safety, infrastructures. And this rate is very telling. It is a very sad reality for Morocco, and when we look at the gender gap, because we are not good at that either. We were in the position of 148 out of 156 in 2021 out of the classified countries. There is something new this year. We went to the position 136. So there's a tiny little change, and I think we have to now capitalize on this tiny change. I think it's useless to go back to the root causes of this, but just one thing, the causes are all very different between the rural world and the urban world. In rural areas, of course, there's a lack of education, a lack of access to education, and a problem of culture. We have early marriages with minors getting married in the rural areas, and this is a big problem. For the urban areas, as Minister Hayar said, we have 55% of the graduates of higher education are women, but when these women have to go from education to jobs, they do not take that step. There are several reasons, technical reasons for it. Of course, there's a problem with infrastructures. I'm thinking about daycare, about part-time, all these things that would allow women to be able to work. But we see that the value system that we have in Morocco is the issue here, because very often society gives us a better reflection of ourselves when we are a mother, when we have children and we stay home, rather than when we have our own company. So this is one of the problems there. Now, I would like to just take a few minutes to try to give you avenues to try to get out of this decline. Because we see that half the population is not well integrated in the social, cultural, political, economic world. So what can we do? I think the new development model that we have in Morocco gives several proposals. I do not have time to give you the details, but I think this plan is very well done. Of course, I participated in it, but I think that we can also trust the fact that we had about more than 100 consultations for this model. And I think that the ministers that took the floor before me agreed on this, meaning that there's an issue linked to women employment, financing for women, quotas for women. There's also the issue of education, the issue of the lack of access to education in the rural world, but we can fix this through digital education. 57% of women are also the victim of some type of violence, physical or psychological violence, whether at work, in the public space, or at home, unfortunately. So this is another problem. So we are carrying out reforms to solve this. We have legal reforms with the criminal code being reformed. We have also a new law that was passed to this end, and we are trying to do a lot. So I think we have two or maybe three types of leverage here. The first one is that we live in a very complex world. And this complex world in this century and for the next century cannot take place if we do not understand that top-down policies are not efficient. We cannot view the world the way we did it in the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th century. I think that public policies, and maybe this is why they are not very efficient, public policies are very often designed by very competent people that have a lot of good ideas, but they do not listen to people at the bottom. And people at the bottom are the only ones knowing the real issues and hence the real solutions. So our first recommendation is to work with people who succeed to try to extrapolate their success. My second recommendation is that in a complex world, we cannot solve issues if we do not approach them in a systemic way. We cannot solve them. To be able to have this systemic approach, we need to have three pillars. First of all, the state, because the state plays a big role by the financing, the public policies and the laws, but the state by itself is not sufficient, and the state has to coordinate itself also. The second pillar is the private sector. The private sector today is a huge force. Through its companies and its power, it's able to solve many of the issues linked to employment for women and to help women have access to good jobs and be able to have their rights respected and so on. And finally, the third pillar is very scattered today, has very little means today, and of course has the key to the solution of many issues. I'm thinking about feminist associations, I'm thinking about the media, political parties, elected officials, I'm thinking about school. School is also part of this third pillar. I'm thinking about unions. So all of these actors have to coordinate, have to talk to each other. Of course, each one is very proficient in its own little topic, but they need to communicate. And so as a conclusion, I would like to say that we have to have a form of leadership that ensures that these three pillars work together. We need to rely on emergent and successful people from the bottom, and we see it in Morocco. 74% of the responses to the inequality problem comes from the stereotypes we have, and I think that I'm very happy that the minister mentioned the 5 proposals, because it's a very theoretical idea, but we don't see it in everyday. Thank you.
Stéréotypes, mais aussi merci beaucoup d'avoir parlé à des acteurs.
Because you talked about different actors.
Thank you so much for being with us. Following what we just heard from Ghita, Reema Ben, could you talk a bit about the role of partnerships from a civil society perspective, and also thinking about these big défis, the big challenges lying ahead of us in terms of climate change, for example? Reema Ben?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate, and I see this as an opportunity, as you know, our country, India, celebrates 75 years of freedom. A lot has been achieved as far as women's empowerment is concerned. Far more is to be achieved, for which I think plans are underway and partnerships do play a big role. I also see this as an opportunity as a part of SEWA's 50 years of organizing women and women workers. Way back in 1972, from 2,000 women workers to we are around 2.5 million women workers today. To the question that you just asked me, I would really humbly like to say that we do not need to reinvent mitigation and adaptation, as these women and workers are least polluting. Their way of living is already ecosystem based, and adaptation measures are being taken not in thousands but in millions by these women workers. What they really need is access to capital. That brings access to green markets. If they do not exist, create them. And social protection. Design that provides women workers with debt and credit support to purchase these biodigesters at a much affordable rate, which they can repay through the savings in the LPG gas. So there are multiple such examples that one can share. And I think as a result of this, from 20 biodigesters, we were able to scale it to 5,000 biodigesters. And similarly, we have also partnered with the Extreme Heat Wave and Resilience Alliance to pilot heat wave insurance product that not only aims to protect the lives and livelihoods of the poor informal sector women workers, but also educate them on the threats that heat poses. So I think what comes out is that, partnerships do matter when it comes to climate action. And I would also like to suggest also here that, it's not just partnership alone, but organizing women, organizing the poor women workers for building their collective strength and their voice and visibility or their bargaining power is the first and the foremost step, and then follows the partnerships. Secondly, one has to look at a need-based and demand-driven approach to create alternative economic opportunities through these partnerships. And these opportunities then take form of cooperatives, collectives, enterprises. And we at SEWA call them as the membership-based organizations of the poor. So I think that I would also call upon the young entrepreneurs here, the young students here, that SEWA is setting up a global coalition on future of workers that creates decent and dignified jobs. So let us all come together and become members of this global coalition to create a better future of jobs. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Reema Ben, for these very concrete examples. Also, how low-income women can actively work on the adaptation agenda, which is so necessary, but also this important role of organization of informal sector workers and also partnerships, which Ghita, you had also mentioned. We're running rapidly out of time, so I want to turn for a couple of minutes still to Charlette. So with your tech background, what do you think could be done to have girls and young women being interested even more than today in STEM, science, technology, and engineering and mathematics?
Okay, so thank you for having me. So actually, I'm part of the tech space. So it means that I have a tech background. So I've been through different stages during my career. So I think I'm the right person to capture the needs from different stages. So at the early stage, I remember that when I was young, my father was really involved in the education because he had always like only girls kind of, and he was really like focused straight about education because he was concerned about the place of women in society. And for me, having parents that was aware of that was easier for me to be empowered at the early stage and say that you should be ambitious, you should be able to be educated, to make your own choices in the future. And that's very important to make sure that girls have access to education. Because when you have access to education, you can easily choose what you want to achieve, what you want to do in the next stages. One of the concerns too that I've been able to experience was that gap in the academic system. And I was graduated from a scientific secondary school, and I noticed that aside that we have more boys than girls in the class, but our educators was failing in terms of guiding us to choose what we study in the next stage, university. Most of the time, they were just focused on common like opportunities, like maybe go to study finance and go to study medicine, but nobody talked to me about technology. I wasn't aware about the potential for me to build a career in that industry. It's when I moved to university and I was, let's say, accidentally oriented in electronic and computer science because of my grades I got during high school. So I was ending in a class where we were more like, I think, 30 in the class, and we only 6 girls, 6 women. So it was so obvious that there was a gender gap. And that's this moment that I noticed that things has to be done. And even on my side, I have to find a way also to empower girls to say that there's opportunity in tech. And I started promoting the use of technology, even being mentor for young girls as well. But that's really like a stage where we should understand that it's very important to address that gender gap, because even men, and they're naturally unconscious, or maybe they're part of that gender biases. And I think that's so sad, because in tech, we are building products for for communities. And when you are building a solution, you are building for people, it should be inclusive. And if you want your solution to be inclusive, you have to include everybody in the process. That's why there is a need to make sure that women contribute. So we need more collaboration in this space. Me as a tech founder, I've worked with men. My co-founders, they were just male, or I have 3 co-founders, they are boys, men. And I've been lucky also to work with them because they trusted me. They gave me like the opportunity to show my potential and to show that my skills, and not just to relate on the gender biases like, okay, you're a woman, you can't do, no. What can you do? What's your skills? How can we work together to collaborate to have an outcome? And that's how things should be done. And also there is a lot of challenges we face as professionals, because when you try your best and you move from that young stage where you're struggling to understand how you build your career in tech, and when you're actually building your career in tech, there's also other challenges you face. And you can have like a lot of discrimination in certain office. People are not expecting to see you there. Even me, myself, I've personally experienced those challenges. I've been in some rooms or some meeting, and people were not expecting me. First, like, you look young and you're a girl, what are you doing here? Oh, no. I'm just here because I'm working and I have to be here. And that's the things. And if you don't have like a strong mindset as a woman, it'll be hard for you to move around towards like that industry dominated by male. It'll be very hard for you. So it's very important for women to be empowered at the early stage, like I said, but also to keep improving their skills, to be good at what they do, and to build that confidence over time to stand and say that, okay, I'm here because I deserve to be here. And the last point I want to address, because I know that there is not a lot of time, is the fact that a lot of women today, they don't have access to financial, right? Even for entrepreneurs or for female entrepreneurs, but for also women who study, we need support. What I mean by support, sometimes you are really like, you're ambitious, you have a skill, you are really talented, but you can't have the right of finance to pay off, to afford high degree, for example, to study in certain school. And this can also give you some kind of lack of confidence, because if you get into some rooms and you feel that people sitting in the room, they all have a PhD, for example, and you are still handling your certificates, it can create some kind of lack of confidence. And I think we should find a way to bring a lot of women, to support women to go higher in terms of education, to be able to say that there is kind of easy transition between formal education and informal education, because both type of education matters, but you should find a way to have like a easy transition. If you have women who were not able to afford university and they have like they have an informal education, to be much easier for them to transition from the formal education to the formal education to scholarship. And I think that will help a lot of girls to dream big, to feel that there is a possibility for them if they go to that engineering field. And like we all know today, we are talking a lot about AI, a lot of tech, and you're in the age where there is, you can play, we can't just sit at home and saying that we are not affected by what's going on. Tech is present. Artificial intelligence is one of the technology that also bring a lot in terms of solution for a lot of local challenges we face. And it's very important also to encourage a lot of women, a lot of young girls to embrace this type of field. Because me, for example, I'm working with it. And I'm not like a success story, but I'm still my journey. And I feel that if me, Charlette from Aawatif, I've been able to go through those different stages and to be able to build a career in that space, and also to have my voice in terms of leadership, everything. It means that anyone can do that. It's just a question of what you want to achieve and how you can align you can find the right resources, and align this with your vision and what you want to achieve. You get a lot of support. So don't be fear, don't scare or tech of math. Just embrace what you want to do and just keep working smart. A lot of things will happen for you. It's just a question of consistency. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Inspirational leadership. This brings us to our last speaker, Haman. Morocco just had a new legislation, quotas in boards. Does that help? And also, what do you think about women in leadership? How can those women who are able to do it be supported?
Well, Thank you very much for hosting this event. I will be very brief and straightforward since I know that we are running a little out of time. So about this law, first of all, I would like to say it's for us a disruptive decision that has been taken at the national level. And I would like also to, let's say, congratulate all the people that have been launching this law, because it's even more a gender equality law than a discrimination law. It's promoting gender equality between men and women, as we've been discussing with Madame Hayat earlier. And it's a very important law because it's a way to promote gender equality and to ensure the access to leadership positions to women, and then to guarantee a certain representation at the decision level. This is very important because this is a first step to influence the decision within companies. Then it encourages also firms to evaluate their existing policies and their practices, because since it's happening at the top level of the leadership, then it will definitely be duplicated also for the whole organization, which will promote definitely the gender balance in the workforce also, not only at the leadership level. Then for me, it also it plays a critical role in transforming the future of jobs. This is the biggest opportunity for inclusiveness, for retaining talents, for offering opportunities to capture, let's say, good profiles, capabilities, etc. And definitely it will translate on economic benefits and financial outcomes for the companies, since we have a lot of studies and let's say, trials that showed that there is a correlation between the benefits of the company and diversity within the company. One of the ones that comes to my mind now is the McKinsey study that showed that if you are a company on the top percentile in terms of gender equality, then you have 21% more chance to be above the average in terms of economic and financial performance. This is inspiring and motivating women to pursue leadership roles. It also helps to break what we call stereotypes, gender stereotypes. But since we have women able to ensure the highest leadership roles in the organization, there's no matter about the rest of the organization. It helps to break stereotypes and give more hope to young women within the company. And especially for sectors that are mal-dominated, actually, like our industry and the heavy industries in general, the financial sector as well. And the list is long, but for sure it's a catalyst to help breaking stereotypes in male-dominated area. Then one very important point also that we don't address a lot, but it's a reality. It's the gender pay gap. And since you have women accessing to leadership positions, then this is for me a good way to address the pay gap at the highest level and then for the rest of the organization. But finally, a lot of positive outcomes. But my point is that it's very important yet, but it's not enough. Companies should set a governance to follow the outcomes of the impacts of these initiatives by setting roadmaps, targets, mentorship programs, let's say governance, because the laws are enablers, but the company should put systems and grievance mechanism to follow what the law is intending is really happening on the ground. Coming from my experience and OCP perspective, we've been, let's say, assessed by the EDGE certification organization, and we obtained the EDGE certification in collaboration with the World Bank last year. And this is a very important, let's say, stamp and recognition, because EDGE certification assesses what we call the performance of the company in terms of gender equality and how the company is able to achieve in gender equality and giving equal opportunities to men and women internally. So we were very proud to have this international recognition, but behind there is a lot of work. There is a lot of roadmaps that has been set, the big mentorship program, starting from the corporate, but also embracing all the sites, the mining facilities, the chemical facilities. And I have been one of the OCP employers that actually benefited from the mentorship programs, and I know how much is it important and how young women, especially in mines, in industries, etc., are very vulnerable and couldn't be influenced even by their bosses if there is no education and no effort to raise awareness at all the levels of the organization. So for sure, the law is important, but we need to put the systems to support the law. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hanan. So laws, yes, but not enough. This brings us to the end of, I think, a very, very interesting event. Unfortunately, we won't have time for questions and answers, but please do send them in, also on Twitter, and we have a number of bloggers who will engage with you, and we will also bring all of this together and try to see what were the many suggestions that were made over the last hour and a half or a little bit longer. For me personally, I was really inspired by what we heard from the ministers, from the international organization, Axel, when he talked from the private sector here, from civil society, from young inspirational entrepreneurs, doers, as we have heard. And I think one takeaway is to shape that future and these transitions, these huge transitions, which are in front of every country in the world. Women in leadership and women empowerment is absolutely necessary. And I think many of you have given very good arguments, but you've also mentioned that this is a whole of society approach. It's not just the public sector or the laws or the private sector. It really needs partnerships from the bottom up, from communities, from people to, yes, the public policies, and especially the many actors, the private sector, firms, academia, and we're here in a beautiful university. So thank you so much for having been with us. This was our first global dialogue in the run-up to the annual meetings of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund in a couple of months in Marrakesh, and I hope you will be joining us for future such events. Thank you so much and have a very good day. Thank you.